Hey everybody, sorry. A few minutes starting late here. I had a few things I had to take care of. But welcome to Office Hours. I'm Matt Groves, and I'm a little out of breath because I just ran down here. I'm terribly out of shape, but I'm glad you're all here with me. It's good to see you. I hope you enjoyed the trivia. What's going on, Dota 2 Attitude? What's going on, JR Lawhorn? I see Coding with Calvin is in the house. No, my new IDE is not Notepad++. It's just what I use for like my pre-show notes, and I don't really use Notepad++ for coding. I use it for kind of odd jobs, I guess. I used to use it for coding. Oh wait, no, not Notepad++. Way back in the day, way back in the day, when I was doing some PHP and some ASP Classic, I would use Ultra Edit. If anyone remembers that. I used Ultra Edit for coding, but that was a very different world. And I use it for me looking at code, browsing sometimes. But by the way, if you're using Visual Studio and Notepad++, there is a Visual Studio extension you can install. So like right-click on an item in Solution Explorer, open it in Notepad++. It's a great little extension, very handy. You should check it out. It's created by our very own Coding with Calvin TV. So why don't I give Coding with Calvin a little shout outskis here. Coding with Calvin TV. You should definitely follow him. Yeah, GitHub Actions. We're going to go back into those today. I'm glad you want to learn it because it's pretty darn cool. I've been using GitHub Actions for my chatbot for a while now. And one of the things I've been missing is getting GitHub Actions to run my integration tests. It's already been running my unit tests just fine, but integration tests, I haven't had any. And one of the reasons was I haven't gotten around to doing it in GitHub Actions. So I think I've got that, and I mean you all have helped me figure that out. So we're going to go over that today and see how it works. I was so close to it the last stream, so close. And it turns out it might have been just a really minor thing, but the great Brent Burnett has done some excellent work, as always, and I think his approach is a little better, slightly better than mine. It's just a slightly different approach, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to do integration tests with the GitHub Actions today, so I want to get my practice project working, and then I'm going to start converting over the chatbot to start running integration tests. Should be fantastic. Hey, Ashik Paul, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. And thanks for hanging out with us. I'm glad you're here. And if anyone wants to ask questions, there's no stupid questions in this channel. This is a safe place to ask away. Great question, Dota 2 Attitude. What testing library are you using? Well, anyone who knows me knows that I'm down with NUnit for life. I love me some NUnit. Although the other diehard NUnit person I know, Coding with Calvin, is actually starting to be a convert to XUnit. So XUnit seems to be the one of choice for like .NET, the Microsoft and their C# .NET stuff. Calvin says he switched to XUnit, so he's completely switched. He's no longer even in NUnit. He likes them both. Okay, well, fair enough. You don't have to, you could even use them in the same project if you wanted to. I don't know why you'd want to. I used to be, we were discussing this, I think, the other day, Calvin. We were in our podcast, in fact. I used to use a little bit of MB unit back in the day. So that's MB, I think this is MB unit. I think that's how it's spelled. I don't know that's anyone really using that anymore. There's a small percentage of people still using it, maybe for legacy reasons. And another one I used to like a lot, which was, I think, built on NUnit. It was a wrapper, was MSpec. Or I think machine speculation or machine spec, something like that, which I thought was a really cool idea. It really twisted around the C# syntax to make tests a lot more readable, and but I haven't used that in a long time. One thing I have not really used in any serious capacity is MS Test. I was kind of wasn't really great the first time it hit the world, and people just weren't flocking to it. I think it's still around, but I don't know if it's really used all that much. I just have JavaScript tests done at the moment in Jest. I assume that means Jest is the JavaScript test runner. I have written a few unit tests in this project for JavaScript. I need to write more probably. Of course, I need to write more testable JavaScript first. But the one I'm using, I believe it is Jasmine, if I'm not mistaken. My test runner is not running those at all right now. Those are all just kind of client-side tests. No Node in this project. All right, let's get on with the plugs here. Team Live Coders. Twitch.tv/team/live coders is a great place to find other people who are coding. When I'm not streaming, for instance, and you're bored, you can go find this list of people. Or not just when you're bored, but when you're interested in learning something, right? A lot of great streamers on here. You can go check them out. See what they're doing. 168 members strong, and the ones with the red dots are streaming right now. We'll come back to this page and find someone to raid. Haven't been to Lana Lux in a while. Maybe we'll raid Lana Lux. Not that she needs it. She's always 3 digits here. Always at the top of the list whenever I'm viewing. Great stream. Great 3D game stuff if you're into that. Okay, so that's Twitch. We'll get back to that. Awesome developer streaming list. Oh, by the way, you can find, if you hit these commands here, you can see these addresses at any time. Nope, not AD, it's ADS, awesome developer streaming. And I will bring up that list here. It's GitHub's got a new look, by the way. I don't know if you've been to GitHub in a while. It seems to have just switched over for me this week, is the new GitHub look. It's not wildly different, but it's definitely different. Anyway, Awesome Developer Streams is a list, a curated list of awesome developers who stream. Yeah, someone tried to get me to opt in early. I was like, heck no. I generally don't try to opt into those new experiences. I just sort of let them, if they're going to deploy it, they'll deploy it. It's fine. I'll use it when it happens. Unless there's something, bad about it, like Twitter keeps setting me up to see the most popular tweets first. I don't want to see that. I want to see chronological order. So I always have to go back and switch that around. Anywho, this is a list you can submit yourself to if you are a streamer, and you can find other people who are streaming. And I usually call out Mixer when I mention this, because it's not just Twitch. It's also Facebook and Periscope and Mixer and whatever other platform, YouTube, things like that. But you may have seen this in the news recently that Mixer is no more. It has been folded up, and so I'm guessing those people are going over to Facebook, or they're just like, as a diaspora of streamers now, going to whatever platform they want to, maybe back to Twitch, for instance. So womp womp for Mixer. But you can just do Control F here in your browser and look for topics you're interested in, or look for the name of somebody you're interested in, and check out their live streams. Speaking of live streams, you can find recorded episodes of Office Hours here on Twitch, of course, but I also export them over to YouTube. And you can go watch the recordings there. You can leave comments, thumbs up, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff there on YouTube. Yeah, they told the developers through the news, probably due to restrictions on the stock market. Okay, makes sense to me. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I never used Mixer a day in my life, but it's always lousy to see platforms that people buy into just gone, right? And we've talked about Google's what was it? Killedbygoogle.com. We brought that up a couple streams ago. They also did it during WWDC. I think that was intentional. WWDC is the Apple event. I don't know what it stands for. I never go to the WWDCs. I just see the tweets come out. Worldwide Developer Conference, something like that, probably. It would have been better if Awesome Developer Streams was categorized by language and not by names. Okay. I could see the argument for both, right? But you could just do a Control F and do C#, and you can find, someone using C#, things like that. However, if you are interested in, making that suggestion here to this project, Surly Dev, who comes in this channel every once in a while, is kind of the main, curator, the main contributor to this repository. So I could see there being like 2 different indexes, right? Maybe one by language or tag, and one by, alphabetical order of names. The problem with categorizing by tags is that you have so many different tags here, right? So, you've got language ones like Node and C# and so on, but you've also got things like Claudia JS. I mean, that's very specific, right? There might just be one person or Claudia JS, or emulator development, like really, really niche things. So it would be, I mean, it probably would be ideal if you could do some sort of faceted search on this. But I mean, right now it's just a text file on GitHub, so that's what you got. So if you submitted a pull request with some sort of way to index this and facet it and sort it, maybe with some sort of jQuery plugin or something, I would say give it a try. Fork it, give it a try, submit it back. Maybe they'll take it. I was at corporate, and they had a project they were doing that would affect the stock market. They did it in secret as a result. Yeah, well, I mean, there's some laws about insider trading, I think is what you're getting at, that maybe they're trying to avoid, or something like that. Quick story about that. I've made no bones about it that I'm a huge fan of cruises and going on cruises for my vacation. And they've just pushed the cruises back. That's affected me directly, so I have to reschedule my cruise again. This will be the second time I reschedule this particular cruise. But the way they announced it was on Friday at like right about 4:30 p.m., which is after the stock market closes. And Carnival is a publicly traded company. So I think they strategically did that for two reasons. One, so it wouldn't blow up the stock right away, which it actually didn't blow up the stock right away. It's been hit pretty severely, but it's not. It didn't take an immediate drop. But two, because they need to ramp up to handle all the people calling in to reschedule their cruises. So kind of strategic for two reasons. You cruising to the Maritimes. I don't know what that means, Maritimes. But the cruise I was going on was for the Western Caribbean. And it has been, all the cruises have been delayed until September. So that one probably can't go on it this year because they'll be during the school year. Cruise to Canada. I took a Alaskan cruise from Vancouver last year, which was amazing. I liked that way more than the Caribbean, because the Caribbean is just like ocean, 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 ocean. And then you stop and you go to the beach or whatever. With Alaska cruise, you go up that coastline. It's just a gorgeous coastline, just huge acreage of forests and mountains and glaciers and all kinds of great stuff. Really cool. So I like that one a lot. Let's see. Sister went to Greenland. She does advanced water geo stuff. All right. Is there any limitation to the number of runs a day in Actions? There are. I haven't run into them yet, Ashik. What I do is, for my projects, I run Actions on various commits or pushes or merges to various branches, which doesn't happen very much during the day. Typical day. With a larger team, it might, of course, but in that case, you probably just want to have it trigger on particular tags, right? But I haven't run into any limits yet. I think there are some limits, not in terms of number of runs, but in terms of compute time, if I'm not mistaken. But that might only be for private repos, actually. It might be, per public, it might be somewhat unlimited. But for private repos, I think after a certain amount of compute time, they start charging you. I have not even gotten close to that yet. Dota pushes like 1 to 3 times a day, always been a point of contention. Point of contention among your team because it's too often or not often enough. All right. Where were we? Go back to here. All right, new reward. So take a look down there under the chat, and you'll see that I've added a new reward. With your Buckazoids, you can buy a trivia game. We'll just stop everything and play a quick round of trivia. And I'll do it with myself on the screen here, so I'll MC it. But if you want to submit your own trivia questions, go to this link right here, bit.ly/submit trivia. Submit some fun, computer or programming related questions, and they could be featured in an upcoming game of trivia, which I run before each stream. Just it picks a random selection of trivia questions. I would really love for you, yes you, to contribute some trivia questions. Let's see. You're saying it's not often enough. 1 to 3 times a day is not often enough. That seems about reasonable to me. I guess it depends on what you're working on. Back when I worked with a larger team, all on the same code base, we didn't use Git. We used Subversion. But if I committed 3, 4 times a day, that was a pretty busy day. And then there's some people out there, and there's some companies out there who are like, you must commit everything at the end of the day, no matter what. And there's some companies who are like, you should commit really, really tiny, make really, really tiny commits and push them immediately, things like that. And there's different models of how, okay, we're going to do the different feature branches and things like that. So I don't know. I push a ton, but I'm also my own branch most of the time. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you're just pushing to your own branch, some teams want to avoid like conflicts as much as possible, or some individuals just want to avoid conflicts because, and I've faced this before, either they don't know how to handle conflicts, or they don't, they're not good at handling conflicts. Hod Greeley, what's going on, Hod Greeley? Good to see you. Speaking of teammates that worked in a common code base together, we worked on a project a few years back, Hod Greeley and I. Good to see you, Hod. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, the conflicts thing is just, you got to, you got to get comfortable with it. If you're on a team, you're working on the same code base, same parts of the code base, you got to get used to handling conflicts. It's not fun. It's not fun, but you got to do it. Hey, BL Bryant's here too. Wow, look at this. We got quite a lot of activity in the chat here going on. Great to see you all here. So anyway, that's the new reward. You can cash in your buck as always down there if you want to play a quick round of trivia. Code with Sean. What's up, Code with Sean? How are you? Is this the same Sean that'll be speaking tonight at a particular event that I meant to plug, but I forgot about? I just read Agile Conversations, a book on conflicts. Didn't like it that much. It's a book on code conflicts or like personal conflicts? Because it seems like Agile would be more about personal conflicts. It is Code with Sean. So, hey, y'all, you should all go to, you should come back here on this very stream tonight at around, 5:45, 6 p.m. for Central Ohio .NET Developer Group. We're going to have a great speaker, Code with Sean there, who will be talking about microservices. Microservices, let me see if I remember the title off the top of my head. Microservices, the easy way isn't the right way. Something like that. You should definitely check it out. Personal conflicts. I'm talking about like, version control conflicts. Two different things. Version control conflicts are relatively easy to resolve compared to personal conflicts, not so much. Code review by arm wrestling. Yeah, now we're talking. I can get behind that. Time zone, yes, Eastern time zone, about 6 p.m. Eastern time here. It's the Central Ohio .NET Developer Group. GitHub Actions. I was searching for the content you said you recorded. Didn't know you were streaming on this today. Came right up in my Google search. Code review by arm wrestling did? Yeah, I'm going to hopefully get it finished up today. I had some great stuff, some great contributions we're going to get into in my practice project I was working with the last time I streamed. So we're going to get into that, and then I'm going to try to bring those over into my actual chatbot project and show the whole thing in action. So integration tests and the whole thing. So it's going to be great. The reason I'm doing the integration test, by the way, is because one of the tasks I wanted to do was to try to upgrade my chatbot from the Couchbase 2 SDK over to the Couchbase 3 SDK, which went relatively smoothly. But I was concerned that, am I doing this the right way? Is this going to work? And I have a lot of unit tests in place, but hardly any integration tests to actually exercise the database. So I wanted to start building those so that I can just sort of verify that what I'm doing is the right thing. Microservice, the easy way is the wrong way. There you go. That's the title. So come and check that out. Should be fun. I just made a private subnet on my website for microservices. I have no idea how to call the private subnet. June 20th is over. Yeah, if you're going about networking, then I'm going to have a hard time because I'm not good at that kind of stuff. J.R. Lawhorn, maybe he can help you out there. Usually it's just a different address. Yeah. Cool. All right. Yes, June 20th is over. That's what's on the screen here. Yep, sorry about that. So I did want to mention it, though, that Live Coders Conference was on Saturday, and I think you can go and find the recording of the whole thing. By the way, if you hear noise in the background, it's some remodeling going on next room over. So that's what that drilling noise is. So if it's like, if you're using like a Docker type system or Kubernetes, usually you don't have to worry about the addresses. You can just kind of use the names because it's set up like an internal DNS client. But I guess that depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it. Let's see. Yeah, so Live Coders Conference, that's over, but definitely still check out the Live Coders team. They probably have another one. I don't know how soon it'll be. I don't know. Maybe they've said something on the internal chat. I don't know yet. I don't go in there often enough. The next conference coming up that I wanted to mention is the Live at Manning. And they're doing a series of conferences on various topics. And this one's a Kubernetes conference. This will be on June 30th. It'll be here on Twitch at the Manning Publications Twitch. You can check out the details here. That'll be June 30th. And I will be speaking there on microservices as well. A very similar, I'm assuming, I haven't seen it yet, but very similar presentation to what Sean's going to be presenting tonight at centralohio.net developers group. So I want to check that one out. There's me and some other great speakers there talking about all kinds of things with Kubernetes and microservices and all that kind of great stuff. So you want to check that out for sure. And that's the last one I have to promote right now. There's a few others in the works, but that's the last one on my list for now. Remember, that list was super long just a couple months back, but we've gradually been whittling that down. All right. Today, we're going to look at those integration tests. I got some great contributions from community, from Twitter specifically, so from Brant and from one other person on Twitter. We're going to review those and see what happened. I'm going to kind of go over what I think went wrong, and we're going to look at some of the options for fixing it. These are some of the things I wanted to talk about in the future. So I still want to get that WinGet submission like Calvin did. I want to submit one myself, see how it goes. I want to have J.R. Lawhorn on the show here soon to talk about some Laravel stuff. I still need to get that fixed. There was a pull request that came in, J.R. I think you saw this one that has to do with line endings, which would absolutely explain why it was failing on Windows and not on Linux. Although you said you ran it on Windows, so who knows. And then item 3, we're going to have a special guest on to talk about Ruby and Couchbase, and that is, of course, Dota 2 Attitude there, who's plugging his own future appearance. We're going to have Dota 2 Attitude on here. He's going to show off his project. We're going to try to work some Couchbase into it and some Ruby. I don't know much about Ruby. I'm going to do my best. Hopefully Dota 2 got the Ruby side of things covered, and then I can kind of help with the Couchbase as best I can. But it's going to be fun to have someone who's a regular in the channel here to come on the stream, show his face, talk to us about some Ruby and some Couchbase. It's going to be great stuff. And same with J.L. Lawhorn. We're going to do a similar sort of thing. That'll be PHP and Laravel and Couchbase. So this will be some cool stuff. So look for those coming up in the future streams. Yeah, you got to clean your room. My office is a total mess, by the way, but the camera is not pointed towards any of the mess. And even if it was, I got this green screen back here to cover things up. In fact, because of the remodeling, I have lots of stuff that's normally stored over there. It's in this room with me. So it is a hot mess in here right now. But don't worry about cleaning your room. You can always, turn on a blurry feature or something with your camera, something like that. It'll be fine. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so if you recall, and let me just make sure we're going to set the current project. I don't remember what the URL was, but that's the current project we're on with GitHub. This is integration test practice. I wanted to do like a really, really small example of it to get it to work before I start doing it in the more complex chatbot project that I've been working on. So here is my GitHub, my workflow here. This is just for running tests, because all I was interested in running tests. My chatbot GitHub action also takes care of deploying it to Azure, building, deploying to Azure, all that kind of stuff. This is just to make sure the tests can run. Now, I think the very first thing, and I really should have tested this locally, because I think this burned me, as I was using Brant Burnett's Couchbase Fake It image. I wanted to use this one because it comes with, it kind of spins up Couchbase for me automatically. And there's some additional functionality in there if I wanted to use it in terms of faking data and setting up indexes and things like that. So I brought in just what I assumed would be the latest and greatest, was Couchbase Fake It : latest. The problem is, and I learned this later, this is not actually latest. So Brant did not update this one, and so who knows what version this was? It could have been an old version, which is why we were getting such bizarre errors, I think, out of the Couchbase SDK. So that's issue 1. And we're going to look at his pull request to see what else he changed to maybe make things a little smoother. Does Bitnami have a Couchbase Docker image? I don't know what Bitnami is, or Bitnami, how do you say it? Packaged applications for any platform. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this. Is this just a different, like an alternative to Docker Hub? I am not familiar with Bitnami. Let's see. We could just do a quick search. I don't see anything for Couchbase there. Is there stuff like MySQL or like, I don't know, SQL Server? Anything with SQL in it? So if there's databases in here, then we should probably be in here too, I would expect. Yeah, I don't know. Filter by deployment offering. So there's Docker options here. Okay, I don't know anything about Bitnami, so I can't really speak to this. But there's Mongo, so and there's CouchDB. Those are Couchbase competitors, Neo4j. So it seems like we should be in here, but I just don't know what Bitnami is and why Couchbase would be here over just Docker Hub. I have no idea. That might be something good to research. So why don't I make a little note, and maybe I'll just create a ticket, create a dev add ticket for the backlog. Explore Bitnami. Should Couchbase be here? I'm not really the person who does those kinds of things. Like I'm not on the build team or the deploy team, but it's something I could certainly investigate and see if there's a reason why we're not. Let's see. We've got LACP as an acronym. Not so good. LACP. Bitnamis are kind of more trusted images. Oh, so it's like they vet them. Like it's not just anybody can throw it up on Docker Hub. It's just like a Bitnami vetted image sort of thing. Okay, interesting. Call it the clap stack instead. What's the clap stack? Is that Couchbase, Laravel, Apache, and PHP? Is that what that is? Oh gosh. Let's not call it that. Linux, Apache, Couchbase, PHP. Yeah, or Laravel, whatever. That's not a good name for a stack. All right, so I will add that as a backlog ticket. The plaque stack. Okay, that's terrible. All right, so this is integration test practice. After the stream last Thursday, I think it was, I posted this out, my frustrations out to Twitter because I kept actually messing with it after the stream shut off. Later that night even, which is pretty rare for me to come back into my office at night these days and try to figure something out. I like to close the door and stay out until the next day of work. But I came back and, yeah, Calvin was messing with it too, I think. But I got some pull requests, which is amazing. I love getting pull requests. I love them. I love getting issues. I love getting pull requests. I love it. One of my favorite things, especially if it's a project that I'm working on. Love it. Now, I may be asking for it there because some projects have hundreds of pull requests and issues, and it's hard to sift through them. But at this point, I love them. I love getting them. Yes, complete shot in the dark. Well, you should have seen some of my commit names when I was messing with this thing. Let me see. Yeah, pretty sure I tried this already, and just trying random stuff. And no, that wasn't it. I was very, very frustrated with this. Best pull request title ever, complete shot in the dark. So this was a pull request from CISO Cable, who I think has a different name on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. Let me give him a quick shout, if I can find him. CISO Cable, I'm not seeing it. Let's see. Let me search through my Twitter mentions here real quick. Oh. Let's see. It looks like it is Kyle Upchurch. So that's Kyle Up on Twitter. Oh, not Kai Up, Kyle Up on Twitter. That is Cecil Cable, same person here, as far as I know. It's not a table saw. I think it's a drill. Could be a table saw. They're putting up some like mold-resistant drywall stuff. So that's what's going on. Or mildew resistant, one or the other. Mold or mildew resistant or whatever resistant drywall, which I think is harder to cut than regular drywall. Not that I'm an expert, not by far. Well, no. This is a brand new room going in our basement. It's a remodel, but it's a basement. So I wanted some, they're putting the special drywall in there just in case there's moisture and stuff, right? I don't want that to grow. It's precautionary. Although there is a little moisture in this house, in the basement from time to time, but not in the area they are. Not in this room here, and not in the area they're building in. A saber saw, I don't know. It could be. The door's closed. I don't really. I'm trying to keep, for various reasons, trying to keep everything isolated over there. Yes. Okay. So here is Kyle's pull request. You can see he's trying a few different things here as well. We built an ammonia plant plan with a fertilizer attachment, and the gypsum lake was 4 times the size of the plant, which was huge. I don't understand half of what you just said there, Dota 2, but it sounds very impressive. I know what gypsum is. That's what goes in the drywall, right? I know what ammonia is. So you built a plant to, like, manufacture ammonia? Okay. I guess. I don't know. You just go buy it at a plan to make an ammonia plant. Oh, you made a... Okay. You made a plan to make a plant in a gypsum lake. All right. Anyway, so you can see there are some steps that Kyle went through here, but we're going to just go and look at all the files changed, see them all together. Better than the other ways of doing it. The plant cost $1 billion. We didn't have the cash at the time. Oh, now you got $1 billion laying around, Dota, and you're over here slumming it in my stream, doing some Ruby. All right, so this is the. I think this is all the squashed changes that he's made. You were short about $1 billion. Oh, okay. You're a little short. So this is, the red stuff is the stuff he removed. The green stuff is what he's added. So he added a Docker ignore. And it looks like he added a Docker file. And I don't think, I'm not quite sure why this is ncarb. I think that's probably a copy and paste for something project he's working on. But you can see that he's copying my integration tests here. It's a Docker image. I think what he said in Twitter is that he did a lot of this stuff inside Docker Compose, as opposed to doing it in GitHub Actions, which is the approach they're taking. And so you can see he's also taken out this, I don't know, it looks like just some formatting. You can spin up test images in Docker Compose, right? And so this is the Docker Compose YAML file to run those tests. So you can see it's just, I assume GitHub Actions is running in something like Docker Compose already. I mean, it's YAML. It's kind of a similar sort of format, like a specialized version. But we're sort of running Docker Compose inside of GitHub. So here's the actual test version he came up with, and here's like the environment for it. This could be problematic because I plan to put these into GitHub Actions secrets. I don't know if I can do that with a Docker Compose image. Not that it's a big deal. I could leave them hard-coded. It's just integration tests. And then you can see he's using fake it here, and he actually tagged this as well. I think he was the one to discover, first of all, that the latest image that I was using is actually not up to date. It's not latest. So he switched over to Enterprise 6.5, which I think all that Brant has in fake it right now is Enterprise, because that's what he uses at his job. He uses Enterprise. So no one has submitted pull requests for community yet. And honestly, for integration tests, Enterprise is probably fine. I'm spinning up one node. For my project anyway, one node. I'm not using any Enterprise features. So, but it should still work. It's the same API and everything. And then the port numbers and then environment kind of stuff here. So this seems to work okay. And you can see that the tests pass. It's so here is like the different, here's the results of the test. What I'm not seeing here is like the actual list of tests that are passing / not passing. So that's kind of something I'd hope to see in this GitHub Actions output. So I think this is a solid approach, But there's another pull request that came in. This is from Brant, who actually is sort of the creator and key contributor to those fake it images. I actually tagged him a little bit on Twitter. I know I shouldn't. I bother Brant too much already. I felt guilty tagging him, but I mean, he knows his stuff. All right, what we got here? You can spin up test images in Docker Compose. Yep, that's right. For Docker files, then deploy the Docker files to get created in images. Right. API tests the context, tells it to run the Docker file in a directory 1UP. Catchy name and alliteration. What's the alliteration? Brant Burnett? His name? So he's tried a few things here, and you can see this is pretty cool. The feature over here is this commits. You can see whether they pass the test or not. So red, 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 green. So his last one actually passed. We can show the checks right here and drill into the details. And so this one looks more like the actual GitHub action stream that I had created in the first place. He's doing something slightly different though, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But here's the actual test step. I'll scroll down here at the end. You can see the test that I named in there. I just have the one test. Does data access retrieve the document? It's got a check mark passed next to it. So I can see the whole list of tests there. So let's go look at his pull request here. And you can see what he changed. So he actually added the Couchbase fake it as a step and not as a service, which I was going down the services route. I don't know what the difference is with this for sure. I'm just making it a step as opposed to a service. I don't know quite understand why that would be why one way or the other works differently. I would expect the services to run like this, but so here we go. We've got this Couchbase. Okay. I see now. I remember now. He mentioned this. He actually created a GitHub action called run Couchbase fake it. So he created an action to make this fake it image more GitHub action friendly. So that's out there. And you can see here we're specifying the version, which I'm wondering if that's just limited to what's in Docker Hub or not. Services are a Docker thing. They run a little mini VM. Steps sound like batch processes. Well, I still think this is running an image behind the scenes, right? This is still running a Docker image. But the action itself is kind of encapsulating that. So that's pretty cool. And the really cool thing here is you've got this Couchbase configuration option here, which you can specify a folder name. And so in the folder name, he's got all this stuff. He's got a buckets definition and an indexes definition. So before, if you remember, I was creating the indexes and buckets in my C# code. And he's actually moved that out of C# into the GitHub action, which is kind of cool. Both ways could work fine, but this way, it's basically guaranteed to run one time, and I only have to check it one time, ever. Whereas my integration test will have to keep checking over and over again, which isn't a huge deal, but it's just overhead that we don't necessarily need to have. So this Brant's gone out of his way here to not only fix the problem I was having, but also to create a GitHub action to deal with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I showed you the test passing already. I'm going to go ahead and merge that pull request and confirm that merge. Where's this repo? So if you hit current project, it'll show you the link to the repo. Just type in bang current project right there in the chat. So there we go. So I thought I merged it in here. I shouldn't say, the merge was from multiple days ago. Okay. So you can see here in the workflow, where's the Couchbase folder at? Couchbase folder. So there's a buckets JSON. So if I wanted to add additional test buckets, I just have to go and add comments to this. Oh, thank you for the star, Dota. I think, though, I might leave this repo around. My plan was to actually just whack this repo because it's just for practice, right? And my chat would be my chatbot would be the one that I would prefer you give a star to. But that's fine. I might leave this around as a sort of a really simple, straightforward example. I know a guy in corporate friggin with GitHub Actions. He'd like to see it for an example. Okay, I'll leave it around there. That's fine. Totally cool. I don't know what corporate friggin is. Oh, you know a guy in corporate who's friggin with GitHub Actions. Okay, got it. As in he's messing with them. He is playing with GitHub Actions. Sure, I would love to see it. Give me some feedback. Try it out. It'd be great stuff. Apparently commas are important. Pandas eat The panda eats, shoots, and leaves. Something like that, right? That comma. All right, so let me check my actions here, because it is merging the pull request. So this should actually show the same thing that the pull request did. And look at that, passing tests. It's a thing of beauty. Scroll down here, and I should see the same thing with a little checkbox, and I do. Very cool. Okay, so then I go back over to my local copy here. And what did I have? This was called Integration Test Practice. Okay. So I'm going to roll back whatever I had before, and I'm going to pull the latest here. Okay, and then in Visual Studio, here you can see my tests. And so I've got the one test running here. No, before I had a bunch of code in here that would try to create a bucket, make sure if there was a bucket, and then create one if it didn't need one, and then create an index if it needed one. That's all being handled now by the GitHub action. So that's kind of cool. So I don't have to, I might do this anyway, but I'll have to create a base class to reuse that code over and over in my tests. So what I could try next is I could also try running another test just to make sure that this works how to expect. So I've got the one really simple class here that I'm testing that will get the widget. So I'm going to create one that will actually create a widget. And so this is going to be string widget ID, just keeping it simple, and then widget. Okay, and all this is going to do is just say await collection. I'm going to do insert async and widget ID and the widget. And that's it. And then in my data access tests, I will write a test, async task, does data access create the document? Okay, so once again, we're going to arrange, act, assert, and write our tests. So the arrangement here will be just basically setting up a widget object. Wow, Tortoise SVN, it's been ages since I last saw it. Look, I got, first, before I defend Tortoise SVN, let me just say, give you some context here, that my last job, I used Tortoise, hang on, first of all, I'm not using Tortoise SVN, I'm using Tortoise Git, all right? But my last job, I was using Tortoise SVN all day, every day. And I really got used to it. I liked the way it worked. I got used to using it. And so then when I switched over to Git, I was fumbling around with the command line. I tried out some tools like Git Kraken, which by the way, Calvin is a big fan of Git Kraken, and it's pretty cool. I just never really got into got into Git Kraken. Because I just liked Tortoise SVN so much. So I looked to see, is there a Tortoise Git? And yeah, there is. It's an active project. It gets updated all the time. So I'm just used to it. I don't have to worry about the command line. I've mentioned this in the past. I'm not a command line type of guy. I'm much more of a mouse clicky visual UI type of guy when it comes to development. I don't have anything against the command line. I will use it. In fact, I love the Windows terminal. So this might make me more into the command line than I was previously. But yeah, it's not Tortoise SVN, it's Tortoise Git. Okay, so we're going to set up a widget. We're going to set up widget ID first. More than WSL or terminal? What do you mean? More what? And we'll set up a widget. So this is just it's really simple C# object. I'll give it a name. You like the CLI more than those two? By CLI, I mean, this is Windows PowerShell, but yeah, also certainly Ubuntu is in here, WSL. I like that too. But I don't know what you mean by terminal. I mean, this is Windows Terminal, this thing right here. It's a tab-based Windows terminal thing. If you're talking about like CMD, the old DOS-like command line, I haven't used this in ages. It's fine. It's there if I need it. I really don't. Okay, and so we'll give this a name. We'll call it Dota 2 attitude, and we'll put in a GUID in there because I like doing that, especially with integration tests, to make the data as unique as possible. Wait, what was that you did with Ubuntu? Okay. See, I told you, no stupid questions in here. This is totally fine. We've covered this before, but Hod has not seen it, so we're totally going to cover it again. Totally fine. This is called Windows Terminal, Hod. I know you've always given me grief for using Windows, but Windows Terminal is a way I can have now tabbed command line interfaces in Windows. Of course, my default one is PowerShell, and I can also use CMD. Those are two Windows ones. I also have something called Windows Subsystem for Linux, or WSL, and that allows me to run Linux distros here on Windows. So I've got Ubuntu 20, I think. I don't know what the code name is, but I've got Ubuntu running here on Windows. So I can now run Linux programs here on Windows. It's not like an emulator. It's like they call it like a Windows subsystem for Linux. So I'm actually running the distro inside of Linux, integrated with the file system, all that kind of stuff. So, for instance, if I go to downloads, if I go to is it still here? CBSH. Yes. So this is a Couchbase Shell command line tool that is meant to eventually, but currently only runs on Linux and Mac. That makes it almost usable. How dare you? So anyway, this program only runs on Linux and Mac, but I wanted to run it. I wanted to try it out. I wanted to make a video for it. So I have CBSH running here on Windows, and it's not going to work because I don't have a local distro up right now. It's going to say, hey, I can't find that. But that is a Linux only program running here on Windows. Very cool. Yes. You'd be surprised all the cool stuff Microsoft is doing with open source on Linux these days. In fact, PowerShell can run on Linux if you wanted to use PowerShell. Just a little FYI there for you. So I love me some Windows Terminal, but traditionally I am a UI clicky mouse kind of. You're a VS Code convert. A lot of people are, a whole lot. VS Code is taking over the world. Did you know, by the way, I think I've covered this before, that there is a VS Code. There's also a VS Codium. And it was following kind of the same model as Chrome and Chromium, right? So Chromium is like the sort of the completely like community-driven version of Chrome, right? It's not tied to Google per se. And VS Codium is a similar sort of thing. Very cool. You have live share on VS Code extension. I don't know if I have it on VS Code. I know I have it here in Visual Studio. I've used it a long time ago in a stream. But yeah, I've got that. Maybe we can use that in our upcoming stream here, Dota 2. That'd be pretty cool. All right, so acting is going to be wait, doll, and create widget. I knew you were going with that one, Dota 2. I'm always one step ahead of you. Got to get it pretty early in the morning. Well, not that early in the morning. I'm a late sleeper. All right, it doesn't like this because because it's, yeah, I want this to be a string. Okay, and then assert. So I got to just check to see, is that item in the database? So, yes. So I'm going to use, this is kind of a weird test, right? But I'm going to use just the raw the Couchbase SDK to get it, get async, and we're going to pass in the widget ID there, and what doesn't it like? Cannot convert from widget to string. Oh, not widget ID is what I meant. Result, and then result.content as widget, and we can just do an assert right here. Assert that the result.content as widget.name is equal to the widget.name. This is not a terribly useful test in the real world, but it's basically doing what integration tests do, is that I'm using some abstraction to manipulate, to perform some logic, manipulate some data, and then I'm just going to look at the database directly to see if the data is actually in there how I expect it to be. Sheik Paul, I suggest you should try multi-desktop and keep the command PowerShell in the second desktop. It helps a lot. I do have multiple screens going right now. I'm just using the one for Twitch, but yeah. Say hi to my kid so he knows this is live. Let me see if is it 5? How's it going, 5? What's going on? Good to see you. I hope things are going well for you out there in California. Not screens. Oh, okay. Yeah, the multi-desktop thing, like at the Mac, where you can switch between all the different like active desktops and stuff. I've never really gotten into that. I think Windows has something to do that, but I've never really gotten into that. Yes, Dota 2, this is live. And actually, it's Memorex, too. It's both live and Memorex. Look that one up, kids. That's an old one. Okay. So why don't I actually get Couchbase running locally to make sure this test passed locally. So I'm going to turn on Couchbase server here. Okay, and so this is actually kind of one of the problems I'm just now realizing with this test strategy is that it's not going to create the buckets for me locally. Which, you know, I can deal with that. That's okay. I'll figure that out. I can just create the test bucket locally. It's not like I delete the test bucket on a regular basis, so that's fine. I can live with that. But the idea is that when I'm actually committing to the repo, that's the automated part. And if there's a actual manual step or two locally, that's something a developer have to deal with. And I'm sure the way Brant deals with it is he has a whole Docker Compose thing with microservices and things, which I've covered on the stream before. But this is not a big deal to just have a bucket created. Do you have a local developer database? Yes, that's what I just fired up right there. I have this running locally. So this is the test bucket that I'll be using for these tests. So I'm going to run these tests, make sure they both work locally. If they both work locally, then they should also work on my GitHub action. Okay, and I have this other thing where I want to, kind of a hack, but documents to delete. We've discussed this before, especially with Calvin. He's not on board with this approach, and I'm not completely on board with it either. But I want to clean up the documents at the end. So I basically have to manually add them to a list of keys. At the end of the testing, it'll just remove them for me. I don't have to do that, right? So maybe for demonstration, I won't do that. And that's as long as I'm using a relatively random bits of data, it's not going to be a problem. He's never run into the works on my machine bug. Oh, works on my machine bug. He must be a really good dev. Oh, no. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying he's got a whole process set up locally where he's doing everything in Docker Compose locally. I'm not using Docker Compose locally at all. But I've covered that on the stream in the past, and he's done some great work there. And Couchbase Fake It is a big part of that. Okay, let's run some tests. So normally these will be cleaned up, but if these tests pass, I should expect to see 2 documents in my test bucket. So both tests pass, and in my test bucket there's 2 documents. So here's the one with the Dota 2, and here's the one with Matt's widget. So there we go. Does not .NET give you the ability to seed the database? So, I mean, yes, certainly. I can seed the database manually if I want to, like here in C#. And Couchbase Fake It also, it's called Fake It because it ships with a tool called Fake It that allows you to create a bunch of fake data in the database. So, and that's another reason you might want to use Couchbase Fake It, is to do that. So if you wanted to seed some data, there you go. Easy way to do it. It's never updated. Okay, so let me go ahead and put those lines back in. And then all I'll do is I'll delete these items here. Okay, and I'm going to run these tests again. I leave the documents to delete in there, so at the end they will be removed. So this time when I run the tests, they hopefully will pass again, because I didn't really change anything. But this time there will be no remnants of them here in the bucket. They've been cleaned up for me. Also, NoSQL is cheaper in the cloud. Well, cheaper than what? And it depends on your use case a lot. So, that one, then remote, then relational. I don't know. It depends on the use case, right? I'm not going to tell you that NoSQL is always cheaper or that relational is always more expensive. There's a lot of variables to it. You know, scaling and is one of them, right? So if you're talking large scale system, it's very possible that NoSQL might be the better choice. Not just for cost, but certainly that's one of the variables. If you remember, I've covered this before in the past. Couchbase comes from an acronym. Well, there's a few levels to it, but Couch itself is an acronym standing for of. Cluster of. So there's that power tool again. Unreliable, commodity, hardware. So that is kind of the original acronym there. Commodity is kind of a nice way of saying cheap. So that's just kind of the idea there, is I can cluster together a bunch of commodity hardware, so I don't have to buy the really expensive, 20 core, 100 core database. When I get to that scale, I can just scale horizontally instead of vertically. That's the idea. But saying it's always, the words always and never, I don't really like to deal with those kind of absolutes. Only the Sith deal in absolutes, which is itself an absolute. But yeah, there's more to it than just NoSQL is always cheaper. All right. So I'm happy with this. So the poker app isn't large scale yet. In the future, though, likely. Well, are you going to create like legit like gambling site? Is that what you're going for here? Okay, let's commit this. So trying with a new integration test. Ooh. The domain is up now. I think you've shown this before. It's like a it's not a gambling site, but it's a site that helps you calculate the math and the odds around Texas Hold'em, I believe. I didn't understand it because I'm not much of a poker person. It's for off-table work. What is off-table work? Is that like under the table work? Or is it like moonlighting? I don't know if you call it the same thing in your part of the world. Well, you aren't actively playing when you're learning. Okay. All right then. I don't know. All right, but here's our new integration test. And if the system is set up correctly, then we should see 2 check marks for 2 passing tests. And normally you don't have to sit here and wait on it, but I do want to check it out just to make sure that actually happens. At some point you start to take these for granted, and you only ever look at them when they fail. They're just kind of there for safety, right? Just another layer of tests for safety. Newer image. Oh, okay. Interesting. The other thing I wanted to do is in this run tests file, it's got this stuff hard-coded, which, again, for testing purposes, it's probably fine. But I would like to introduce some secrets into that, which isn't a big deal. That's really easy to do. We actually probably don't need to hold up this project for that. I will do that in the chat program for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how to get an env into a Docker. Oh, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think that would make sense. Like I could just pass them as an environment to Docker Compose, maybe? And Docker Compose could then pass them to the Docker images. Yeah, I think that makes sense. All right, test all passing. And look at that, 2 passing tests. I wish they were in green, but that's fine. That's fine. 2 passing integration tests. So 2 tests that are actually hitting the database and actually interacting with them. And great. That's just great. Okay. All right. So another shout out to all the help from Brant Burnett, who's also created a GitHub action, which maybe we'll go check out in a second. And also thank you to to Kyle or Cecil Cable for his version, which is also seems also like a good approach. It's passing. But now that Brandt's added the fake it action, I think that probably makes more sense if I'm going to use GitHub Actions to use fake it. So let's go and where's the place you can actually browse those actions? I want to check it out. So I'm going to hit the, over here. I'm going to hit the, let's back over this way. There's like an in-browser editor for GitHub Actions. Hit the pencil here. So here's like the GitHub Actions editor screen. And so you can see if I search for fake it, run Couchbase fake it. There it is. So let's view that full marketplace listing. Pretty darn cool. This GitHub action just for running Couchbase fake it. And you can set up a configuration folder and all kinds of cool stuff there. So there's the folder in this repository. So yeah, you can create a GitHub repo for it and everything. So if you want to make some changes to this or check this out some more, you can find it there on GitHub. I want to... Wow, they're having a fun time over there. I want to make a quick note of this. Couchbase fake it for GitHub Actions. This is for CI/CD integration testing, etc. Pretty cool. I'll just make a note of that one internally. All right. So thank you much for Brandt. I think you definitely need to get a star for that. 2 stars for Brandt. Everybody's watching. This shouldn't take very long. Go check out this link there. Give him a star. Brandt does tremendous work. The least you can do is give him a little star. And I don't know if he has a buy a coffee sort of thing. If he does, I would buy him like a case at this point of all the great stuff that he's done. Look, here's his GitHub contributions. It looks like a subway wall. It's fantastic. Calvin has one too. I should buy Calvin one. Where's yours, Calvin? Is it Calvin? Where are you, Calvin Allen? GitHub? I don't know where you are. No, don't do it. You can't stop me. Let's see what we got here. Look at all this stuff. Calvin's got all this kind of. Hopefully none of this is confidential because Calvin and I are friends or whatever. Let's see. Okay, no, it's not. He doesn't come on the weekends. Smart guy indeed. Yeah, I mean, actually, he does do a lot of work on the weekend. That's the thing. Like, Brandt is the kind of guy, and I used to be this guy, maybe. Not so much anymore. But Brandt is the kind of guy who will spend his whole week just cranking out amazing stuff for his company. And then for fun, he'll go and sit on the beach and, like, contribute to Couchbase community stuff. He's a fantastic guy. He really is. I'm gushing now. But, all right, where's your coffee thing at, Calvin? I want to buy you a coffee. Where is it? It's not on GitHub? Not more than Grant, though. What do you mean more than Grant? No, seriously, don't do it. Well, I want to see where it is. I want to see where the coffee buying is. Oh, you got sponsors here. My contributions, I have more than Calvin, but less than Grant. You mean Brandt, not Grant. Brandt. Yeah. Well, he does a lot of his work on GitHub. He does a lot of. I'm not, yeah. So, I mean, you should never feel bad about your chart here, right? This is the kind of the chart you want to see, right? Green everywhere. But yeah, Calvin's right. It's the quality, not the quantity. And not everything you work on can be a public contribution. Now, my motto is quantity, not quality. But that's me. That's worked for me so far. All right. Let's see. Well, I don't know. If Calvin's not going to tell me how to do it, I'm not going to buy anything. In fact, I'm going to send you a bill for my time, Calvin. All my work stuff is in AZDO. I don't know what that is. AZDO. Arizona Board of Osteopathic Examiners? Oh, Azure DevOps. Yeah, that makes sense. You sure you're not on the Arizona Board of Osteopathic Examiners? azdo.gov? This is a tremendous website. Sounds interesting, but alas, I'm not. All right. Okay. So next thing I want to do is I want to do this same thing, but in another project. In an actual real project is my Twitch bot. And I think I finished converting all my unit tests to use Couchbase 3. And I have created some integration tests that I never had before. Let me just make sure I'm in the right branch and everything. Upgrade to SDK 3, that's the branch. What are we doing here? Didn't I say open up a Twitch bot? Let's go here, Visual Studio. Come on. We're not going to cooperate today? Okay, open Switch bot. All right, there we go. So as I mentioned in a previous stream, I've got these tests for controllers. No, the core ones. Okay, I've got a few left I need to convert. And I also noticed I've got this integration test folder that I've added some tests. Just a couple of integration tests. Looks like one of them might be outdated, actually. Oh, the other problem with this is, did I fix this yet? Has this been deployed yet? I want to do NuGet packages for the solution. I don't have any Couchbase here. Couchbase, extensions, and I want to use dependency injection, which is only at 3.0.1. I want it to be 3.0.2. Well, shoot. They haven't released 3.0.2 yet. Maybe they didn't need to. Okay, let's go ahead and install this one. I know 3.0.2 had a tiny little improvement in the bucket interface that I really wanted. I really needed, in fact. Well, not needed, but I really, really wanted for to make my code a little easier. So I'm going to install 3.0.2 here. We'll just see how that works. Okay. Seems to be working so far. Let's just do a compile real quick. 3 succeeded. Okay. And this is where integration testing is going to give me more confidence, because I'm hitting like kind of cutting edge, a little bit ground here in terms of using SDK 3.0.2 and using the extension 3.0.1, which those versions don't have to line up, but I figured they should. I don't know. But I want to make sure that these tests work. So let me go here and I'll convert one of these over. Tests are pretty amazing in general. Yeah. As long as you do them right, which I don't always do. Once you have tests in your code, you never want to go back. I'll agree to that. Okay, so notice that there's a bunch of stuff in here that's red because this is designed to use the older Couchbase SDK, Couchbase 2 SDK. But I'm not using the Couchbase 2 SDK anymore. I'm using Couchbase 3 SDK. So what I've got here is I created a base class, I think. Yeah, breaking changes, right? We're going version 2 to 3. That's breaking changes are to be expected. Units test. I created a base class to help me out here, I think. Hi, Professor Groves. Lou Derrick. No one's called me Professor Groves in years and years and years. Don't tell me you're one of my former students. I was a what do you call it? Adjunct professor for, I think, was it a year and a half, 2.5 years, something like that. Yes, I was. Lowercase p professor. Let's just call it that. No, you're not one of my. Okay. I keep in touch not really keep in touch, but I am still on social media friends with a few of my former students. Not until they were former students, of course. It would not be appropriate. Oh, office hours. Yeah. This is my office. You're here in my office. I know it's all green screen out, but you're here in my office. I'm not a professor, but you can call me a professor if you want to. I can live with that. I tried getting my friend to explain to me his chemical engineering PhD. Explain the whole PhD? That's a lot. You're too distracting, so you gotta go. Hey, no problem, huh? Thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you again. Have a good day now. Just the title. Oh, yeah. Those titles, like those thesis papers. Yeah. So Hod Greeley, who just is leaving there, I think he's a PhD. I think he's got a very impressive PhD in, like, I want to say, like chemical engineering or molecular bioengineering or something crazy like that. I don't have that. I have a master's degree, and that's as high as I've ever gotten. I don't think I'll get a PhD, unless it's one of those honorary ones. They don't really count. Okay. I have an MBA, stupid person master. That's what I have too. I have an MBA as well. The stupid person master's degree. No thesis required, right? Yep, that's me. You're studying chemistry and look like to get into chemistry. Makes sense. I used to work with a guy who had a degree in, I don't know if I'm mixing him up with Hod or not, but it was a microbiology or micro something chemistry, like really advanced degree. And he was really something. And then he switched to coding. He's a tremendous coder. He still is. Well, he's not really a coder, I guess, at this point. He's more like I don't know, probably like CTO level, sort of senior architect sort of thing. And he moved recently out of Ohio, but he was a great guy. We still keep in touch every now and then. Okay. Here's the thing with this base class. I don't know if I showed you this before, but I kept doing this stuff over and over again anyway. So I just put it into a base class so I can reuse it. Was your MBA worth it? That's a question that people always ask me. It's a question I still ask myself. I think yes. It was worth it for two reasons. One is that it was basically free for me because I was a full-time employee at the Ohio State University, and you can take 100% tuition-free courses. So it didn't cost me much more than my time, honestly. And those taxes and books and stuff I had to buy, yes. So it did cost something, but beyond that, it was really interesting to it's kind of the polar opposite of a computer programming or a computer science or any sort of science degree, right? And this is something I had to get over when I first started taking classes, because when I'm given a computer science problem or a math problem or a logic problem, there is an answer. There is a proof. With business school, there isn't. There isn't an answer. So you have to come up with strategies. You have to come up with approaches, and you have to do, you have to make a lot of assumptions, which I was very uncomfortable with doing at the beginning. And I had to learn those new skills. So yeah, I think it was worth it. I got those skills. It doesn't hurt a resume when you have a master's degree, and that's actually how I got my job as a adjunct professor. Is they looking for somebody to teach, and for whatever reason their board says you have to have a master's degree. So a friend of mine doesn't have a master's degree. He said, "Hey, Matt, you're the professor type. You got patches on your blazers. Why don't you teach this class?" So that was an opportunity that was opened up to me because of my master's degree. Now they eventually said, we don't need you anymore. We don't have any spots for you. We just hired another professor full time, so we don't need an adjunct anymore. Let's see. Sir, I got a question. You don't have to call me Sir Newsavite, but you absolutely are free to ask questions here, asking for advice. I will do my best, and just let it known that I don't have the answer. Other people in here can certainly chime in with their point of view. I just finished my undergrad. Should I try MD school or start working? MD school would be what? Medical degree school? Is that what you're talking about? Hey, Dota 2, thanks for stopping by. Enjoy your supper. Well, Lewd Eric, you called me professor when you came in here. So, medicine school. Look, you're asking the wrong guy about medicine school. I don't know beans about that kind of stuff. Here's what I have heard. I don't know how much of this is true or not, but I have heard that people who go through medical school to become doctors end up in huge piles of debt, and I've also heard, I think from maybe I read this in Freakonomics or something, which is a great book, Freakonomics, or maybe it was Super Freakonomics, the sequel. But that doctors are really incredibly intelligent, and they're pillars of the community. We all look up to them, but they go through medical school, and they come out with very poor money management skills, because none of that's taught in medical school, right? And so they spend 10, 15 years in academia, and come out and spend a bunch of money on an expensive car and expensive house and get into huge amounts of debt, and that's that leads to problems. I have heard that anecdotally. That's about it. Well, I know it comes to medical school, so I'm sorry I can't be more helpful to you. If you're asking about a advanced degree in computer science or business, I could probably give you a little bit more specific advice there. So these things that I'm doing in every single class, they can go. So I'm actually reducing code. One of my favorite things to do is reduce code that's doing the same exact thing. And so this needs to change from underscore lowercase m to uppercase. Oh, is that not what it's called? Mock bucket provider, I called it. Choose the old delete key. Mock bucket provider. What doesn't it like here? Is there something else? Oh, it's also, okay. I also did this key generator thing, which I don't think I've talked about this before. New test key so what was it? Test key generator? Degradation uses database. Oh, this was a class. Okay. Yeah, that needs to go out of there. Put that in here, and I'm going to make this into its own file. And so back over here. Okay, so one of the things I did, and this may be, again, overthinking things, was in a lot of my code, it just uses a GUID to generate a key for the data I'm putting in the database, which is totally fine, except when I need to test, there are some situations where I want to know the key that's being used, that's being generated. So what I did was I created this class, it's kind of a wrapper. I call it test key generator. I have this interface called iKeyGenerator, and I have a key generator, which all it does is just return a GUID. All right? It's just a wrapper for GUID.NewGUID. That's all it is. But by putting this interface in here, I can then create a test key generator. So then it's still going to use GUID, but I'll actually know what the key is ahead of time, so I can use that in my tests. And this doesn't seem to like that, so I'm going to go with this new key generator. So in the case that I care about the keys being generated, I can tap into that and use that. Now, I might just want to use... I'm not going to put down the base class just yet. And I don't know if I need the key being generated. Let's read this test here. Okay, so we're testing the store message handler. So every time you all type a message into the chat, it gets stored into Couchbase. So you've been all using Couchbase, and you didn't even know it. So this is just testing that it gets a message into the bucket. So I'm going to simulate the Twitch part of this, but we're still going to hit Couchbase with him. And so the username, message channel, and we just need to verify. Mock buckets, verify that there was a chat message inserted. So it's not going to be mock bucket, it's going to be mock collection. And it's not going to be, there's no document class anymore. It's just going to be a key. And in this case, it can be any key. I don't really care what it is in this case. This is kind of more of a smoke test, I guess. I do care that this is a chat message going in here, and this can all go. And so it's going to be what is any chat message. Let's just comment this out. So what is the problem here? It is any string. What coding language is this? This is C#. Yep, that's right. So I think I'm missing a paren somewhere. What's going on here? Oh, there's also, yeah, this is an annoying thing. And this may be something, if XUnit has a, well, not XUnit, if there's another mocking framework that has a solution for this, I might have to switch. Because these do not handle optional parameters very well, which that may just be a limit of mocking. But I have to pass in this stuff for optional parameters, otherwise it won't compile. That's super annoying. So let's see what happens when I do this. And the reason I might want a key generator in this case is for cleanup. Is that mock? Yes, it is. It is MOQ. I'm really enjoying listening. Well, thank you very much, Lou Derek. I really appreciate you hanging out and asking questions and checking things out. Yeah, you running that same problem, Calvin? What happened? Didn't like it? Shout out. What? Did not? What's going on here? Oh, you know, this is wrong here too. This should be whoops. This should be override setup. This should call base.setup. What is the problem here with the test runner? What is not going on? What don't you like here? Why the red hands? What's going on? What's happening here? What doesn't like this? Test sessions. Okay, let's try this again. Shout out tests. We're going to run this here test. No, not shout out test. This one. Oh, it was just maybe some remnants from old tests. Okay, there we go. Passing test. Now, if I go over here to test bucket, you can see. Maybe you can't see. Oh, this isn't, okay, this is an integration test. This is a unit test. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to make these tests pass first. Okay. Calvin, if you come up with a solution for that, you know, let me know. I don't know if it's worth switching platforms just to avoid the whole mess with optional parameters, but I would certainly consider it. Not test frameworks, but mocking frameworks. Sorry. Is any chat message? Oh no, it is chat message where d dot username. Oh, and then the null thing again. Ugh. Okay, and we'll do the same thing down here. Collection. Everything is at the collection level instead of buckets. Rhino mocks always had the ignore parameters, so you could just code null into all of them, but I don't know if mock has that or not. That's what I'm doing. I'm just putting null in all of them. I don't know if ignore parameters would, you know. Basically, the problem is not that I have to put them in there. The problem is it's just a lot of noise. It doesn't have any meaning. I'm not using the optional parameters in the actual code, so why would I have to use it in the actual test? It's just an annoying step. Is any string. What's up, TBD Gamer? I love when a plan comes together. And thank you for the shout out there, Calvin. How's it going, TBD? How are things with you these days? Speaking of plans coming together, it's going great here. We've got integration testing working with GitHub Actions. And now I'm trying to finish up the last of these unit tests to upgrade from Couchbase SDK 2 to Couchbase SDK 3, which is going pretty well. But I wanted to create some integration tests to make sure they're working as I expect them to. And so far, so good. And that's actually what the current project is. If you check that out, that's the integration test practice project that I created. Okay, so let's run this test. That should pass. I'm not actually changing the logic. I'm just changing the SDKs being used. So there we go. Okay, trout handler. So this is the trout command, by the way, which, you know, is not as used as much as I'd like it to be. I would really appreciate seeing some trouting going on in this channel, in this Twitch community. So let's get to it, everybody. All right, grab a trout, start slapping. Let's go. Mock Twitch wrapper. I don't think I have a mock Twitch wrapper. That's not what I want. Declaration. A Twitch API wrapper. Is that what this is supposed to be? Yes. Mock Twitch API wrapper. There we go. Huh? No good? Oh, just mock API wrapper. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we'll trout somebody, and this isn't even using the database. So I'm just refactoring this to be a little bit more, a little less verbose, I guess. Override this. Base.setup. Okay, and mock. Wait, it's not mock Twitch client, is it? So, yeah, mock Twitch client. This is the mock Twitch wrapper. Mock API wrapper, I think it is. Mock API wrapper. Yep, and this is the mock Twitch client. Yep. And the mock API wrapper and the mock Twitch client. Okay. These are the tests for trout slapping. You should all pass. No database changes required there. Just making my tests a little bit easier to read. And this is the last one. User has arrived. So this one does use database. Does use Couchbase. Give that a base class. All this stuff here, well, not all of it. I'm not sure about the SignalR stuff yet. I'm going to leave the SignalR stuff in here for now. Because this is the only place I think that uses SignalR. Well, no, there's another place that uses it, but it's fine. Mock provider, okay. So, yes, you can see all these tests have red in them. You got red in you. So I need to set up the exists to work. This will be a mock collection, however, not bucket. X.exists async. It's going to be the same, well, the same type of thing, all right? Except that what it returns is not a Boolean directly. Someone playing with nail gun? Yes, sorry about that. I mentioned that earlier, but I've got some remodeling going on in the, whoa, suddenly very blurry. I remember like it was yesterday. No, I've got some remodeling going on next room over. And there is a nail gun being used, I assume. Some sort of pneumatic tool. I can hear the air compressor kicking on every once in a while. So this is actually going to return a new fake exist result, because this is something new that the Couchbase SDK uses. Is instead of just returning a Boolean, it returns this fake. It returns a exist result object. Okay, and this is optional arguments again. Null. Okay. And this is again probably mock collection. And one of the nice things here is we're sort of, I don't really need this fake operation result anymore, so I got rid of that. And get async is no longer typed like so. It's going to return a new fake get result, and I can just pass in the object to that directly. Kind of a nifty little fake there. I think I'm probably missing a optional argument and extra braces, but there we go. Okay. collection, upsert async. This is just going to be, it is, do I check the string? No. It is any string, and it is of type dynamic. It may not contain dynamic operation. Ugh. Let's see, what are we doing in here? We're not actually using dynamic, are we? Upsert async. What are we doing here? This is create recent activity marker if document if necessary. So this is going to create the document. Upsert async, right? Yeah. And this is of type. Oh, it's just anonymous type. Crud. It was working before. Whoa, don't look at that. Don't look. Ah! Hang on a second here. I'm still here. Something just came up. Okay. Okay. Nothing too bad on that screen. Okay, we're fine. All right. I meant to close that off. I usually close that one before I go on stream, but I forgot to do so. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so upsert async. I thought it was working before, though. It doesn't like the dynamic here. Expression tree may not contain a dynamic operation. Well, I mean, That's kind of annoying. How was it working before, though? Here, I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to roll back a little bit here. Oh, it was document of dynamic before. Now it's just plain dynamic. Okay, well, how can we get around this? We can't have dynamic expression trees at compile time. Just say is any object. Can I cast it to a no. Can I cast it to dynamic? You know what I should do is I should turn on live testing. For some reason, I thought I had it set up to automatically flip on when I open Visual Studio, but it doesn't seem to do that. There you hear the compressor, air compressor kick on. Alright, come on, live testing, let's go. Oh, we got an error. Where is this? User has arrived handler tests. Still getting compile errors? Nope. Well, come on then, live testing. What's going on? Oh, there we go. It doesn't like that. Is that dynamic? Can I say any dynamic? Will that pass? Oh, it doesn't like that one either. Well, I might have to create an object then, annoyingly. Not a big deal. I don't think. User has arrived marker. And I'll just create that in my core models here. It's just such a simple class. It's like why would I just use a dynamic? Oh yeah, this is what I want. I can just add a message to it. It's just one. It's one property. Like that's it. Okay, and we'll just make this user has arrived marker. Okay, so at that point, get rid of this. And then I can change this, and then it's not dynamic anymore, so it should be happy. This part needs to move upstairs. Oh, expiration. Oh, crud. That's an option. How do I test for that? Oh, golly. It's a string where x equals this. That's fine. X is a string. Okay, and really it is any, I don't really care what's actually in the user has arrived marker. But then I do care what the options are. How do I test that? It is upsert options where u dot expiry. Yeah, I think that's what I want. Wait, expiry is a function. Huh? U dot expiry. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I do change this up a little bit. Use a time span instead of a number, which I think is way better. Definitely an improvement. What is the problem here, though? It doesn't like. Cannot convert to Boolean. Oh. Is there any way to like get the expiry? These are all just functions. I can't actually get them. I want to test to make sure that the correct time has been passed in, even though it's hard-coded. I still want to test to make sure it's been passed in. Any way I can do that? Let's just see. Let's say upsert options u dot. There's no way to actually get that from the options. That might be more trouble than it's worth to figure out how to test that. It's just like a lambda to set options, like a fluent interface to set options. But how do I actually test that? I mean, maybe I could just say, just like a verify, that was actually called. Would that be good enough? Hello? Hello? Oh, I didn't, I still got an error down here. Upsert async. Like that? Okay, still failing. Why is it failing? Let's just try one of these and step through it. True is equal to true. Just want to set a breakpoint here. I just want to see the exception message. Or probably not exception, but whatever the error message is, I want to see that. Huh? Did I not hit the bug? Oh gosh, here we go. Okay, so there we go. And no exception. Ugh. Why aren't you throwing an exception? What's wrong with you? This might just be more trouble than it's worth. It is any upsert options. Well, that pass at least. That one passes. But this is just going to pass for anything as an upsert option. I want to make sure that it's 12 hours. I don't want TBD Gamer coming in here every 5 minutes with a chat message and triggering his video. As much as he would like that, I'm sure. Huh. So if I go... You think people would get A-teamed out? I think they would get a little bit... I know I would, probably. Hard since the upsert options are newed up in the method. You're talking about right here? Well, they're not... Well, they're newed up in this expiry, which I can't see because I don't have the source code attached. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, there might be a way to examine this with, like, I don't know, reflection or something. I don't know. But is that worth it? Going into reflection for that? Let's check it out here. Maybe that matches properly. What do you mean? I haven't tried is any with a lambda like that. Is any doesn't have a lambda. This is just is, yeah. No, I want right here. So I'm gonna look at source and Couchbase, and this is going to be in what key value probably. And oh, well, I don't know. What is it? It's probably like was it update options, upsert options? Oh, crying out loud. Upsert options. Yeah, upsert options. Those are users. What? Why isn't there an upsert options file? Upsert options. Okay, I must be missing something. This Couchbase key value. Upsert. Huh? What am I missing here? Couchbase key value and there's upsert options. Now, this is just what Visual Studio is telling me, but some sort of private, I don't know, internal maybe? But it should be here somewhere. Alright, gotta open the Visual Studio. I guess I could use code to do it as well. I'm just going to browse. But I already opened Visual Studio. Alright, open a project or solution. I actually have the Couchbase Net client already cloned locally. I was using that to kind of, I think I explained this on the previous stream, but to just kind of start migrating my code over with stuff that hadn't been released yet. Hadn't been released to NuGet yet, I should say. Come on, Visual Studio. Let's go over here. Over to this screen. Say hello to the nice folks. Don't be shy, Visual Studio. Let's go. This is becoming a bit of a white box testing. Oh, there's no... What? What in the world? There's definitely a upsert options class. Why aren't I seeing it? There it is. Upsert options. Just JetBrains hadn't caught up yet, that's all. ReSharper. I think you might be right, Calvin. I think this might be futile to test without doing anything crazy like... Oh, look at this. There they are. They're just internal. So I'd have to do some reflection to get at them. it's just not going to be any good. You don't suppose internal can't be accessed from an inherited method, can it? Or an inherited class? Or a class that inherits it? Uh-oh. Look at this. Here's something new. This is what I did on Tuesday, actually. I was doing some AWS stuff. Deploying a ASP.NET website to AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So I installed the AWS toolkit. Maybe with the expose internals project flag on the actual inherited class? But would that even give me anything if I did that? It wouldn't be, no, I couldn't have inherited. I'd have to wrap it. Which wouldn't give me any internal stuff, so. Royal Blues Tag or Royal Blue Stag, one or the other. How are you? Thanks for hanging out, checking out the help commands there. I recommend the trout one. That's one of my favorites. Give the trout a try. I haven't heard a sound effect in a while either. Maybe I haven't said anything funny enough. Notice the light is changing in my office again. I'm just sort of getting this glow about me. Hello to you as well. Is it Royal Blues Tag or Royal Blue Stag? Like tag, you're it? Or is it stag like the creature with the antlers? Or it can be both, I guess. Stag. Okay, Royal Blue Stag. So yeah, so this is your standard sort of fluent interface, right? Returning this and setting properties. But don't have access to these. Okay, well, I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know what to do about that. This might be just something I should not do, right? But let's just do a quick check. Unit test, internal.
Bing, bada, boom.
Hey, thank you for the follow, Royal Blue Stag. Appreciate that. Hope you find something cool here. I do a lot of C#, a lot of database stuff, a lot of Couchbase. Working on some integration testing right now. Unit test internal C#.net. Let's see. Internal classes need to be tested. There is an assembly attributes. Internals visible to. Oh, is this what you're talking about, Calvin? You think if I did that, if I went to unit tests, not here. Went to this right here, and in my unit tests, because I don't need to access them in the actual code. That would be unnecessary. If I go in here to, oh, shoot, where was it? Properties assembly info? I don't have a properties assembly info. Do I need to add a property assembly info? New item. Okay. Do I just need to add a properties folder? Will this work? Is this a flag built specifically for this dilemma? It seems like it, TBD Gamer. Create class assembly info. I don't know, is it a class? Internals visible to, and then the assembly name should be the name of this one, which is this one. And then can I say u.expiry? Look at that. Oh no, that's not it. I don't think that's going to do it. Or I'm doing it wrong, which is entirely possible. Oh, expiry value is what it's called here. Dot expiry value, which is just going to say what? Cannot access internal property expiry value here. Okay. I think this is telling visitors to the internals of this project are visible to the project I specify. It's not the other way around. I can't say the internals of that project are visible to this one. So that seems like a no-go. Assuming I even did it right. If you want to test private methods, have a look at private object and private type. They offer easy wrappers around the necessary reflection code. Oh, what's that about? It's only for MS Test? Or, I don't know. Private object. This class represents the live, non-public internal object in the system. Okay. I got a lot of votes, but I don't really see much in the docs here about it. This is for static. Hey, physics, please. Just join the channel. So you can check what's going on in the channel right now with just doing bang current project. But what I'm working on is integration tests. And I've just run into a little bit of a wall here with integration tests. I'm trying to test to verify that the expiry level has been set to what I expect it to be set to. The problem is that it's internal. Oh, GitHub is now Microsoft. How does it make you feel? We're still talking about that now, are we? So physics, please. I've been working with Microsoft Tech for most of my career, so I feel good about it. I've seen Microsoft in the bad old days, and I've seen them go through a bit of a transformation into a company that's more welcoming of open source. Still not perfect, as Calvin and I have covered the last few recent episodes of .NET Bytes. But this was a podcast that we record. But I'm okay with it. How do you feel about GitHub acquiring NPM? How does that make you feel? Because I'll tell you how it made me feel. Confused. I didn't realize NPM was even a company. So I didn't realize it was something that could be acquired. So I learned that on that day. Okay, let's see. I feel glad that I never committed to GitHub. Okay, so you're just sort of like, you don't like Microsoft, is what you're telling me. Oh, coming from a 2019 user. Oh, okay. All right then. So let's hear it. Why aren't you into GitHub being owned by Microsoft if you are in fact a regular user of another one of their flagship developer tools? I mean, hey, if that's the way you feel, I'm not going to argue and try to convince you otherwise. I'm just curious your reasoning. Hello, man. What is this? How did unit test internal classes? Specifically internal. Testing non-public types of members. Okay. I'm just glad I don't have to try to brace myself for changes to GitHub. Okay, so you're worried about changes to GitHub. From what I can tell, they're kind of handling GitHub the same way they've been handling LinkedIn, which is to say, it's kind of a separate, not separate company, but it's kind of being, run with separate leadership, I guess you could say. Yeah, I'd be curious to know what kind of changes do you expect to see? Because all I've seen so far is positive changes, like stuff that cost money in the past is now free, which I can't think is a solid business model, but that's the main thing I've seen so far. I've also seen a little bit tighter integration between GitHub and Azure, sort of thing. As I'm going through GitHub Actions here today, I'm seeing some really good integration points. It makes it easier for me to deploy a project directly to Azure from GitHub. Let's see. So it's a unit test of its internal property. C#. And I'm running out of time here, so probably not going to get to this. But I would like to know. I don't think the right solution is to go to this project and say, hey, these shouldn't be internal. But I also don't think the right solution is using reflection. So I don't know. There's got to be some way in the middle to test this. Dunno, just changes that I don't have to anticipate. All right. So you don't like change, is what you're telling me. I think more of Azure integrations. Yeah, they're pretty good. But the thing is, it's not just Azure, right? If you see GitHub Actions, I'm sure there's actions out there for AWS and Google and whatever else, right? So it's not like Microsoft is squashing integration points with other cloud vendors. So, that would be bad behavior I'd expect to see from, bad old days Microsoft, to say, okay, we own GitHub now, so you can only use Azure, that sort of thing. Not seeing that. Not seeing that behavior. And by the way, Microsoft owns GitHub. They do not own Git, right? So it's not like they can go in and make changes to the actual underlying protocol very easily. They still got to go through Git to do that. I assume that's how it works. So this is not going to do anything. I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to wrap up the stream here. So thank you all for hanging out with me. Thank you all for your help. Anybody have any suggestions for who to raid? Keep it going.
Bing, bada, boom.
Oh, thank you for the follow, Physics, please. I appreciate that. Let's see. So many good choices. A lot more people streaming right now. Let's see. Dan Siegel. Haven't seen Dan in a while. Maybe we can go say hi to Dan. Any objections to Dan Siegel? Looks like he's doing some Prism stuff. It's interesting. That's some more desktop type development, I believe. All right. So we're going to head on over there. And if you're a subscriber, especially, copy and paste this little message. I don't have a non-subscriber raid message yet. Maybe I should do that. But thank you all for joining me. I appreciate the follows. Let's see. Physics Please, Royal Blue Stag, Ashik Paul, and before that, AK Diley before I started the stream today. Thank you all for the follow. And thank you all for the great questions. I will see you again Tuesday morning. I think Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on Twitch. And so I hope you all have a good one. Oh, hey, thank you for the subscription, TBD Gamer. Awesome. Appreciate that. At the buzzer, gets a subscription in because you want to get that. You want to get those sweet emojis, the sweet emotes, right? All right. See you over there, everybody. Have a good one.